and welcome to the next interview of the Master of Manifestation Online Summit 2020. Today, I'm with Dave, the CEO and co-founder of Nomadix, which is a kind of competitor for Airbnb for the digital nomad industry. And I'm really glad to have Dave on board today because he's a serial entrepreneur, someone who is kind of fearless about creating and going into the unknown. And with Dave, we are going to discuss how he decided to move from the idea he had about Nomadix to manifest it, to take action towards it. And then, as it's an industry that is related to people moving during this time of COVID-19, how did he manage to survive and keep growing while having to face a global pandemic? So, Dave, thank you very much for being here and accepting to share your story and knowledge and experience. First of all, can you introduce yourself with your own words for 2 or 3 minutes, and so that we can know more about you?
Sure thing. Hey, Kevin. Well, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm very excited to be part of this conference. It sounds like super cool. I've been a serial entrepreneur really my whole life. I've had businesses ever since I can remember. My father was an entrepreneur when I was growing up since 1974. And then when I was in first grade, I had a lawn business. I've had lawn mowing businesses. I had a window washing business in college. In college, I studied accounting and business, and I ended up working for Price Waterhouse for a few years. And after that, I went to grad school back in 96, 97 and focused on the internet. It was really right after that that I launched my real internet startup, a company called 360i, one of the first search engine marketing companies in the world. We sold the company in 2005. I stayed there until about 2007. After that, I traveled for about a year with my wife. And then we started a social media ad tech company in 2008. We were one of the first 5 companies globally to get access to the Facebook ad API. And we were one of the first companies globally to get approved through their platform. And from there, we started servicing some of the top agencies all throughout the world. That company was based in New York City. We sold it in 2012. It was considered one of the top 10 transactions in New York City for that year. And after that, my wife and I just started traveling the world. And after about a year of traveling, we decided to extend our travels, I guess as a lot of the nomads do. We did it for about 4 years, and we eventually ended up here in Portugal. And that's where we decided to start this next company, NomadX. And so that's where we are today. We actually live here in the south of Portugal, a place called Arafana, about 40 minutes north of Lagos, off the south of Portugal. So it's a great spot. And yeah, I just love entrepreneurship and excited to chat with you today. So thanks so much.
Okay, yeah, that's a great story and inspiring story. It's like it's sum up, but it shows that you've been through a lot of different industries, through different time, and like you're facing COVID-19 right now, but you faced other difficulties as an entrepreneur during your journey. So I'm interested to know, how did it all start with Nomadix? Um,
Ah,
is it an opportunity that you grab, or is it like an idea that you nourished in your mind? Like, what was the starting point of Nomadix?
the idea just really was incubated on our travels. So, like I said, we started traveling the world in 2013. And as we were traveling, my wife and I were typically staying in places for a month, sometimes 2 months. And we found this, it just wasn't very affordable. We were having to stay in Airbnbs. We're probably paying about twice or more than we should have. And it was also very difficult to connect with the local community. So every location we went to, we were also running into digital nomads, and we got a chance to meet a bunch of them. They all had the same complaints. They were complaining about the affordability of the living. There was really no place for them to go to find housing. And then when they got to these locations, there wasn't much of a sense of community. So as we went on our travels for a while, and then we decided to move here to Portugal because we discovered Portugal in our journeys. We fell in love with it. We decided to move here. We got here. We just saw there was this huge opportunity to create a business specifically for digital nomads because Lisbon is really one of the top digital nomad destinations in the world. I think if you go to Nomad List, it's considered #1 on the list at the moment. So we saw that as an opportunity. Web Summit was just getting started here. Web Summit's one of the largest summits in the world. And we went to the first summit. We got a chance to meet a lot of entrepreneurs and investors. And we had no idea there was so much excitement in entrepreneurship and technology happening in Portugal. And so being an entrepreneur and having done this my whole life, I just couldn't resist because I saw what was happening here. Reminded me a lot of the early .com days. It was just the whole movement was just getting started. And I got sort of reignited about getting started again. I like early stage markets, early stage startups, and I really love this idea of trying to help digital nomads find affordable housing, to find community, and not only for the digital nomads, but also for myself as well.
So yeah, you were a digital nomad yourself. You were traveling, and you experienced the fact that Airbnb is good for the short term when you go on vacation somewhere and you don't want to go in a hotel and you want to experience something else. But for sure, for the long term, it can be very, very expensive when you're an average digital nomad with not making millions, but was an average paycheck, I would say. So that's interesting to see that there is that idea that started to create itself in your mind because you were a digital nomad yourself, experiencing the reality of what it is to move here and there and stay long term in some places. So when you nourish that idea in your mind, can you tell us what happened next once you decided to, okay, there is probably to do something to do in this industry?
Yeah, well, my wife and I, we got very inspired in our travels. We saw that there were a lot of people that needed affordable housing. We were running into a bunch of nomads. They were having a hard time connecting with each other. There wasn't necessarily a strong sense of community. So we just saw this huge opportunity to try and build a platform that's specifically designed for digital nomads and remote workers. That's not for tourists. That's not for students. You know, there's some student housing platforms. We're seeing a lot of the nomads were going on the student platforms and getting student housing, but generally the nomads, they don't want to be lumped in with students either.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a different demographic. And so, yeah, we just saw this real big opportunity. And with all the changes with smartphones and the Wi-Fi and, you know, cloud technologies, you know, the businesses right now, I feel, are really just starting to catch up to the technology, you know, as a result of this pandemic that we're going through at the moment. But yeah, we saw this huge opportunity. So yeah, when we moved here to Portugal, we got re-inspired about entrepreneurship. And yeah, my wife and I, we decided to start the company. We started the company with a couple of younger college students. We actually met the students at the university that I graduated from. They're no longer part of the company. It was originally started as a summer project for the students while they were still in school. So summer of 2007 and 2008 were like the student summers, and it wasn't really a full-time business until 2009. I mean, 2019 and 2020. Sorry, I get my decades off sometimes here. But yeah, so it's been like quite an experience. We think there's a huge opportunity, but I think we're a little early on the market as well, because I think as much as you go out there and you read about nomads and you see this huge market opportunity, it's been very much an early adopter market until today. I think with the pandemic, yeah, we're going to see like a really huge increase in the number of digital nomads going forward. So we are extremely well positioned at the moment, I feel like, you know, to take on the opportunity. But we are against, like you said, the Airbnbs. You know, Airbnb is now refocused from short term onto midterm. You know, although we still see our pricing is super competitive against Airbnb, we have a lot of Airbnb listings on our platform. And when we compare their listings to the listings on our platform, we ran a calculation across all of them, and we're about 50% less expensive on average. There's a big difference from an affordability perspective.
Okay. So let's go back to what you told me about the fact that it was first created with two students. I like to see that as a sign that you're on the right pathway. It's what I call synchronicity, because you had that desire that pop up in your mind because you were a nomad yourself and you started to have that idea, and then you had the idea or the feeling to go back to your college, right? And you met
That's
those
right.
students there who were creating what became nomadics then.
That's right. Well, it was interesting because I graduated from the university. It was a long time ago. It seems like yesterday to me, but it was 1993 when I
Mhm.
graduated, and the internet was just like, it's like dial-up internet, and I really didn't even get on the internet, I think, until like 1993. But yeah, when I graduated from school, it was like the people I went to school with. People were very smart. We obviously partied together a lot and everything else, and I just saw all my classmates and everyone from the university been so successful. So I went back. I was like, I really want to get back to the school. So the first thing I did actually is I made a donation to the school, which actually helped them fund their entrepreneurial center at the university. And so as a follow up to that, I wanted to come back to the school and actually help the students start startups, help them find jobs in digital marketing, and just give them a little more exposure of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So I did that for one semester, and during that time, I met a couple of the students. And one of the students, he was a freshman at the time. I think the other student was a sophomore at the time. And then once we decided to start the company, they were researching it a bit. I had a bunch of ideas from my travel. And so we came up with this idea to offer a service to digital nomads. The original concept was more similar to like a remote year, hacker paradise, where people come in for a month and you have all the services. What we realized is it was just getting too expensive for the nomads. They typically don't want to pay 1,500 or a couple thousand for a month. A lot of the nomads are looking to spend 500, 300 on a room, 700 to 1,000 on an apartment. And we just didn't, so we saw the big market share opportunity was to try and find a very affordable inventory in great locations throughout the city, as a great solution for the nomads to compete against someone like an Airbnb or like a uni places, which is mostly for students, or even like a spot home, which is nice, but there's no real sense of community. So yeah, we saw this really unique opportunity to create a business for the digital nomads. Nothing out there really like it quite existed, maybe in some smaller capacities. So
Mhm.
yeah, we felt like the timing was really good. And yeah, we're just like super excited about it. We eventually kind of figured out, the nomad movement wasn't really as big as we thought it was. I think it's just still a very, very early adopter market, but with everything that's going on at the moment, we're really expecting it to explode. So yeah, we're really, really,
Okay.
excited in this current moment, but we're just waiting for the pandemic to blow over, really, and trying
O-
to address as much of the opportunities we can in the meantime.
Okay. So when you decided to join those two students, would you say that it was more rational decision or more following a feeling like, yeah, I have that idea, I have that desire. Those two guys are here in front of me. There is that opportunity. I just have to go for it. Like, what was the process for you um, going into this business and creating the business with them? Was it very logical, or did you spend a lot of time thinking about it, or you just like, yeah, that's the thing to do, and you jumped into it?
I always think like when you're first getting started, you really need to research the market. So I'd say the first several, like 3 or 4 months, we spent a lot of time researching the market, taking a look at the competitors, taking a look at their offerings, kind of figuring out what we want our offering to be. It's evolved quite a bit since the original idea. So over that first 4 month period, I would say it was by like March of 2017, we really decided more officially on the idea, and it was a lot of fun for me. I mean, I wanted to make it like a cool college experience for these kids too,
Mm-hmm.
not just starting a company, but I had actually flown them out to San Francisco. We met there. They gave me their pitch on the business concept. And that's where we kind of signed the deal to get started. So it was kind of, I wanted them to have this kind of Silicon Valley experience.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but the one thing I didn't think about was like, okay, we're starting a company in a foreign country the kids have never been to, and we don't speak the language, and we really are, they're not really even digital nomads. So I realized like a little bit into it, like, wow, like maybe I've taken on more than I can chew. But with these young guys, they work really hard. And I was kind of expecting it to, not that it was going to become the next Google or the next Facebook, but I was really hopeful that, yeah, these kids were going to figure it out. So it was quite an adventure. I mean, I really had the cards stacked against me getting this
Mm-hmm.
thing started, but it was a lot of fun. Like that's what I enjoyed most about it. It was almost like I made the thing so difficult and almost insurmountable for myself that it was like I like that about it. It was like, okay, I'm presenting myself with this major challenge. This is going to be like the final, my final startup that I'm going to do as an entrepreneur, and I'm going to help these kids, and we're going to totally crush it, basically. And
Mhm.
obviously that's not what happened in the beginning at all. So it was like what I had in mind and maybe what the students were doing, we didn't necessarily always align on our thinking because they were a lot more conservative than me, which was the funny part. I would come up with these big ideas and like, oh no, Dave, they're constantly like, I think they thought I was a little crazy, which I probably am. They're constantly having to kind of reel me in. I thought it was going to be the opposite, you know.
Okay. So, so yeah, what are the challenges or problems that you had to face with them, or later on your journey when you were alone? Like,
Yeah.
because life is, I'm used to say, and people say that through the interview that I'm recording, that life is not a Walt Disney cartoon, and it's not always a happy end. And when you decide to go for what you really desire to create, you have to face life and real life's problems. So, um, putting at the side COVID, what are the other things that you had to deal with that wasn't expected?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the kids they wanted to start the business about a year later. So they were thinking, oh, we're going to put all this planning time in. We're going to start it the following summer. And I was like, no, let's just get started. Let's put everything together. Let's go to Lisbon. Let's just get the thing going. Because in my mind, like the best thing you can do is just get started. It's easy to talk about it and think about it. It's almost like mental masturbation. You start thinking of all the money you're going to make and everything. But we really need to do is just get started. So, for us, we just try to figure out a quick plan to get started. The website ended up taking longer than it should have. The brand that we came up with, they came up with some idea for a name. We ended up shifting over to this Nomad X. So we got a late start on the first summer, which was a big mistake. And when they arrived here in Lisbon, we didn't have any customers. And they were basically like cold calling from their apartments, trying to find people to come fill these spots. It just wasn't working. And I was like, listen, guys, what are you guys? I was like, what are you guys doing? They're like, well, we're sitting in the apartment, we're cold calling, we're emailing and stuff. I was like, okay, put your computers down, go out and go to industry events, get out to the co-working spaces, like actually get integrated with the community, start meeting all these nomads. And it was funny, as soon as they started doing that, next thing you know, we started getting bookings, And so we probably had like 30 customers that first summer, and all of them came within like this couple few week period, but it was all a result of them just getting out there, joining the groups, creating their own little social group. And that's really what kind of turned the corner for us. The summer was challenging though, because we'd rented an Airbnb, we were renting out the individual rooms, but it was still expensive for the nomads, and not all of them wanted to pay the prices. So coming out of the summer, one of the students dropped out. That was difficult because they were like, well, what do we do? I've already made investment in the business. The other partner was still interested. So we're like, okay, let's do this, but let's shift gears a bit. Let's not do what we did last summer because that was a disaster. Let's shift the focus and really focus on affordable housing inventory. And that's when we shifted to more of this idea around creating this global housing platform for digital nomads.
Okay. Yeah, what I like about what you said is that, like, you build the clarity along the way. Uh, like, from a year to another, it doesn't look like the previous year, and this year is not going to look like the next year in terms of what your offer looks like. The first year, I'm pretty sure you haven't made profit or not much profit, and then you had to shift the strategy and the business model the second year, and then one founder decided to go, and then the second one, so you had to keep building it, um, with your own hands, and somehow, even if you have a team, but um, choosing another strategy, etc. So that's something important that I want to highlight, because a lot of people believe, like entrepreneurs to be, believe that they need to have 100% clarity on what is going to happen, like next year and the year after. And if they don't have a clear big picture vision, then they cannot go for it. Um, but the best way to have a big picture is to take action, and to create. And once you create, then you create clarity along the way. Do you resonate with that?
Yes, definitely. I'd say, like, for me, I almost look at it like going to college. Like the first year you start the business, it's almost like your freshman year. Like you go in, you might think you want to be an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer, or maybe you have no idea what you want to do. And then usually by the end of that first year, you realize like, okay, I really don't want to be an accountant, or I really don't want to study history. This is what I want to do. So I feel like entrepreneurship's the exact same thing. You might have a sense of what you want to do. You might have a sense of this bigger vision, something that's inspiring you. But generally, I find it takes at least 12 months to really get a sense of where is it that where's your alignment? Like, where is it that your skill set is matching against the opportunity? And where are the niches where you're finding the most success? And then usually, kind of iterating along the way, but after that first year, to take a hard look at what worked, what didn't work, what did you like, what's going to help you scale to where you need to get to, and then make adjustments. And then it's a continuous adjustment period. It doesn't need to be a massive pivot all the time. Slight adjustments, slight adjustments, slight adjustments. And if you head down the wrong path, obviously you've got to turn all the way back around and kind of start over again. And that happens a lot. I almost equate it to, like, I always say it's like summiting the peaks of entrepreneurship, because you might see this mountain in front of you. You might come up with a plan to scale the mountain to the top, but inevitably, and once you get on the mountain, things change and you have to make adjustments. You might have to change routes. You might have to come back down the mountain for a bit before you can do your final summit. I feel like the same thing with entrepreneurship. Those first year or two, you're basically just trying to get to base camp, And a lot of people on your team aren't going to make it to base camp. They might not be cut out for it. They might last for a year or 2 years. They might be great the first year, but they might not be the person for the second or third year. So the business is going to go through a lot of changes. The people are going to go through a lot of changes. It's almost like having a kid or something. You have like an infant, and this infant's constantly changing in terms of its needs and wants and expertise. So you've got to be able to evolve with it. And the industry is evolving too, and the competitors are evolving. So you've got to kind of continuously evolve in this ecosystem, ideally kind of picking out a focus that you can actually own and potentially be the best at. So I think at the end of the day, it's all about focus and trying to be the best at one thing. I know a lot of, some people will try out a lot of different things and try out a lot of different concepts. But for me, I think it's all about focus. And then once you focus even more, try and be the best at one thing. And ultimately what that'll do for you is you'll end up closing more business because you're differentiated, and you potentially can charge more, because you are a specialist in that one area. So yeah, I mean, I that early stage of the business for me is actually, if you look back on it, the most fun time. So as an entrepreneur, it could be the scariest, but it's going to be the most fun, because you're never going to ever have an experience like that again. Plus, you don't have all the customers, you don't have all the revenue problems, and then once you get the company off the ground, you got to hire people, you got managers, you get cash flow issues. That first year, you just look at it the right way and be like, this is going to be the best experience of my life. It's going to be the hardest experience of my life, but I'm going to come out of this and I'm never going to have the chance to do this like this again. And look at it from a very positive perspective versus from a perspective of fear. Fear is not a bad thing. You want to have some concerns. You want to definitely make sure you're not heading down the wrong path, but you have to be very, very positive, confident in yourself, and not afraid. It's like, this is the journey of a lifetime. It's like you're stepping foot to climb Everest. It's like, how many times are you going to get a chance to climb Everest? Let's make the most of it. Let's try and enjoy it. And obviously we are going to have some periods which we're going to struggle. We're going to get into arguments. Maybe someone's going to die along the way, whatever's going to happen. It's like, but that's really what makes the experience what it is. So much different from these 9-to-5 type opportunities. So for me, like, I'm always pushing entrepreneurship. I mean, I love entrepreneurship. I think it's like one of the best, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. Most people never get a chance to experience it on their own. So it's not something to be afraid of. I mean, obviously you're taking a risk, but at the end of the day, even if you're afraid of it, you're going to be more valuable. Because I can tell you, I've hired a lot of people that have done entrepreneurial ventures. Even if they haven't been successful on their own, they're great to work with because they have a whole new level of respect for what it's like to be an employee or to be a shareholder in a business. And typically they make the best employees.
Yeah.
So that's typically what I'm trying to do. I've done a lot of acquisition hires. I try and acquire smaller firms, bring them on board, because not only I like to bring in their expertise, but I like also to bring in their entrepreneurial mindset.
Okay. Yeah, I like what you say about Mount Everest, because I've been there, and I haven't climbed the top, but I've been a bit further than the first Everest base camp. So yeah, it's just a matter of like keep going. That's all you have to do. Don't think about the rest, and keep walking. That's all you have to do.
I mean, the key thing is like you got to have a vision of where you're heading. It's like it's almost like in golf for me, or in sports, whatever sport you play. But I mean, if you're standing there about to hit the ball, you got to have like in your head, okay, where is this ball? Where am I aiming to? I have to almost be able to visualize the shot the same thing in entrepreneurship. I've got to get like so into the business, understand the industry well enough where I have to be able to predict like where we're going to be in 3 to 5 years. Maybe not exactly, but I've got a really good idea of where we're headed. And to the extent I need to kind of adjust the path along the way, I can do that. But yeah, you need that vision because otherwise, people start heading off in different directions. Ideally, just everyone's got to be aligned on the rails together, heading in the same direction. And so, as the CEO, that's really my job. It's just to make sure we've got the right team. I'm bringing on the best people onto the team. If people aren't working out on the team, I've got to let them go. These are like the jobs of a CEO, basically. So in addition to just being super passionate about it and putting all this effort into it, I've also got to make the hard decisions as well.
True. Yeah, it's like the downside of the job. During the interview, you told me with the first founders that they wanted to wait 1 year before to start the business, and you told them like, no, let's do it right now. Let's take action right now. And I came to realize that this kind of procrastination is created out of fears, because you even more when you're not experienced, you don't feel ready, and you always try to postpone the the beginning, the launch of your business, because you don't feel quite ready. And you told them like, no, let's do it right now. There is no reason to postpone that, or to wait 1 year. That response or reaction you had by saying like, no, let's take action right now, why waiting a few more months? Do you think that it has always been part of you, or when you started your entrepreneurial journey, you were more like those two guys who were kind of afraid and trying to find ways to postpone the launch or the beginning of the business?
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but I think it's good to get started. It's good not to like set too much expectations. I think it's also really good to know that even if you fail, you're going to come out of this much better off than anything else. It's going to be the best education you ever received, better than any college or graduate school education. Coming out of this, you're going to have a ton of experience, whether it's to start another company or if you have to go back into the industry again and get paid a salary, you're going to have such a bigger appreciation for that salary going forward. And then also you're going to be a much better employee at some of these companies as well. So it's like, just something about it that's just a very unique experience to have in this modern day world where everyone's typically working at these huge corporations. I'm very anti corporation. I'm not big on the corporations, the 9 to 5 mentality. My first business partner used to call them like the hired suits. And you kind of see them all wander out to lunch together, and then they're all wandering out to the cars together. Fine. It's just, that's not the entrepreneurial mentality. It's like you have to enjoy the idea of like, my lunches typically when I was in New York, in my agency that I was running, it was like lunches, you got me with clients and do dinners with clients, and you take the clients out drinking. I mean, it's really just a part of the overall lifestyle. You have to really, really enjoy it, enjoy the people you work with too. And that's where I get a lot of my inspiration is from the people. So I want to surround myself with other people that are very entrepreneurial, they're inspiring, they're a little crazy too. I like to bring in people too that have an edge to them. It's not your typical employee. And so, yeah, it makes it kind of fun and helps to differentiate us and helps to inspire me in terms of like just really getting excited about the day-to-day work and whatever it is that I need to do.
Okay. And has like, you're a serial entrepreneur. You're someone who take action. You're someone who work hard, and I believe that it's hard for you to stop working completely. Um, um, is it also easy for you to just let go sometimes, to surrender to the outcome, and to say like, there is that thing that I have no idea how it's going to turn out? How important is it in the entrepreneurial process and mindset to let go sometimes?
Yeah, super important. So like for me, like what I like to do is work, ideally get very intense on the business over periods of time. If there needs to be a lot of work, and even through those periods too, but leave time in my schedule too to have time to really think and have time to ideally get out, whether it's go for a walk or go for a surf or whatever it might be. Because obviously you do need to keep the balance. But for me, like what I'll typically do is I like to take off some for breaks. So like it might be I work for a month or 2 months, and then I might take off for a week or even 2 weeks. I might go like here in Portugal. There's an amazing hike down the coast here. I did that a couple times this summer, and that really helped me just clear my mind, helped me just really synthesize all the thoughts that I've had in a way where I'm not necessarily focused on work, but coming out of it, I have a whole new, like, refreshed perspective, and I have a lot of new energy that I'm able to bring back into the project. But for me, it's like hard. I can't do like the 9 to 5 every day, every week, every year. With a couple of vacations, I just get burned out. But for me, I like working intensely, like waking up early, but having a little break, working into the evenings, maybe break the day into a few different cycles, maybe some days, maybe chill out a bit more. But I think as an entrepreneur, it's really your own schedule. So it just depends. Some people like working early in the morning. That's not my thing so
Mhm.
much. I'd rather work late at night. You have to know really what works well for you. I'm not one of these guys who's doing like cold baths and cold showers and trying to biohack everything. If anything, I'm probably doing the opposite because I'm maybe drinking a little bit at night, or I might want to smoke some weed once in a while to relax. Like I try and keep it like pretty chill. And then some of those moments too is when you do come up with great ideas. Like we've got a hot tub here at my house, and when my wife and I head out to the hot tub, like I come up with some amazing ideas in the hot tub.
Mhm.
Or I'm sure like a lot of people come up with their ideas in the shower. So I think sometimes these ideas will hit you in places where it's just unexpected. That's not going to occur to you when you're looking at your phone or on your computer.
As you said, when you take some time off work and you create space, then you allow insight and ideas to come in during those time, because you're not thinking about work, and it's usually when you're not thinking about it, then like, oh, suddenly, oh, as you said, in the hot tub and under the shower, it's like, oh yeah, why I haven't thought about it before. It's like it's so obvious, but it's when you allow yourself to just, okay, I don't think about it right now, that you think about it, and the answer comes to you.
Because sometimes
So
the answer is so obvious, and sometimes
mm,
it's just sitting right there, but it's so hard for you to see it because you're so in the weeds. So you just back up a little bit, relax a little bit. All of a sudden, it's like, bam, right there. It's like sitting in front of you the whole time, but you couldn't see
yeah,
it.
exactly. Um, David, let's talk about COVID-19 for a bit. So I only have one question about COVID-19. I don't want to emphasize on this topic because it's everywhere right now. But as you are in the, like, your business model is based on people moving, and people are not really allowed to move right now. So COVID-19 obviously impacted very negatively your business and your business model and turnover. So when that happened at the beginning of the year, how did you feel personally? How did that even impact you? Like in relation with your business, of course. And what are the shifts that you had to make in order to survive? And it's not even we're not talking about growth, but surviving for your industry.
We had to actually make some adjustments to everyone's pay. We kept everyone in place, but we had to reduce the compensation just because we had some investment. We just put 500,000 into the business, so we had plenty of money, but we were burning some money pretty quickly because we're starting to scale the technology. So basically, we just had to slow things down a bit because everyone that worked at the company works at the company was a contractor. And so basically, yeah, it was cutting back on the rates that they were getting paid. Then it was cutting back on some of the hours. And then it's just a matter of, okay, what are we going to really focus on? Because our goal was to start really expanding geographically. And we're also preparing to do a fundraising campaign through Cedar. It's one of the crowdfunding campaigns. We couldn't do the crowdfunding campaign because we didn't want to reach out to all of our guests and hosts and community and ask them for money at such a bad time. So we put that on hold, which limited the amount of money that we had in the bank account. And then we were just going to try and go into like self-sustaining mode where just, the business is kind of paying for itself. We did that for a little bit. And then through that process, we realized, okay, we need to partner up with someone because our technology still needed a lot of work. We didn't have the money to make the big investment that we need to make. Plus, we wanted to expand into multiple countries in Europe and then also to Bali. And we realized it was going to be a bad time to start opening up new markets. The good thing that happened to us though is that there's a lot of hosts shifting from short to midterm. So we added like 1,000 new listings, like doubled the number of listings in the first quarter of 2020. So that was like a really positive outcome. But the problem was no one's traveling. So most of the nomads that we're working with were more people that were just local here in Portugal, and they were doing stays, but 4 to 6 month long stays because they were here and they wanted to stay longer periods of time. But the issue we ran into is that all of the borders were pretty much in lockdown with the UK, the US, Brazil. So yeah, this hasn't been the flow of customers that we would like this summer, and it's shifted to much more of a guest market. So the guests actually have all this inventory they have access to that they can negotiate down to reduce rates. And we saw actually a lot of guests going around the platform and booking directly with hosts. So that was kind of discouraging for us because we felt like, oh my gosh, we got this great platform, we made this investment, these guys are going around us. And now all we're doing is policing. So we're like, okay, we can make the investment to continue to try and improve the platform, or we looked at a company was looking to potentially buy us out. And we also looked at a couple of partners. This company we ran into, Flatio, I started talking to him back in July. I actually found out about him through our Facebook group. I'd seen someone write a post about him, and I was going to delete him and actually remove him from the group because I didn't want them competing with us. And I was like, hold on one second, I'm going to click on this link. And I reached out to the CEO, we hit it off. The next thing you know, like 2.5 months later, we signed a deal to merge together. And they have this amazing back-end technology for midterm housing. They have an amazing operational team. I'm more strategic and into marketing. So it just turned out to be like a really, really good fit. We just closed the deal like 2 weeks ago. And so instead of just being in one country, now we're in 17 countries and 60 cities throughout Europe. And we've got about 11,000 listings on the platform right now, whereas before we only had 1,700. So we're trying to just make the most of it. I constantly say I'm turning lemons into lemonade. That's like my job as a CEO, is take these bad situations and turn it into a good situation. So I'm constantly trying to make the best of what I have. And maybe that's just my entrepreneurial genes. It's like, it's more about survival than success is what I say. So we hit these down periods. This is the time for the entrepreneur.
That's a beautiful example of, you don't complain, don't spend time worrying, but think about what you can do next, and try to respond as fast as you can to
if you
survive.
stir up enough dust, some of these guys start reaching out to you. Like another great example is we had this amazing journalist contact us, and he was writing an article for The Guardian. And so it was like amazing. I had no idea about this. He contacted me. He wanted to start a little co-living space. And he reached out to me on LinkedIn, and like we have a lot of people would probably just ignore it. I got back to him right away. He's like, "When do you want to chat?" I was like, "Let's chat the next hour." Next thing you know, he got us this amazing article in The Guardian. We also got Flatio in The Guardian as well. And then we were looking to do our PR. I was like, this guy did an amazing job for us in The Guardian. Let's hire him to do all of our PR for us about the merger. And we got we probably got like 30 press hits. We got some really, really good articles that came out. And you just kind of go, I'm going with the flow. I'm not the 20-year-old, 30-year-old entrepreneur, but I think it's good, to be aware of these opportunities, pay attention when people are reaching out to you. Don't just, think that you're the greatest and you know everything. I think you have to be sort of humble through the process, and you really try and find people that are very motivated. I usually, if someone's reaching out to me and they want to work with me, like that's a great indicator, because it's like instead of someone just responding to a help wanted ad, I want someone like hunting me down. They're so passionate want to get into the business. Those are the types of people I want to have in the company.
Yeah, but it means that your work is paying off if people reach out to you without you having to reach out to them the first place.
Yeah, exactly. You get a lot of these bullshit messages in LinkedIn, for example, that just copy and paste. But some of these guys, like this guy wrote a really nice message, and I can tell he was like putting some thought into it. And I was like, hell yeah! This guy's like, he wants to help give me some advice on my business. I'm gonna listen to him. It's free, and then next thing you know, it's like it was a gold mine for us. All the press we got was worth, well, I guess the Flatio team thinks it's worth at least a couple €100,000 in press mentions. Maybe I don't think it's maybe worth that much, but it was a big win for us. So you never know where these things are going to come from. You just have to kind of like, just be open to maybe an idea you didn't have waking up that morning.
I completely agree with that. I have one last question for you, Dave, and it's an advice that you would give to the attendees who are watching this interview with you. What is the best advice you would give to someone who have an idea or an intuition, a vision about something they want to achieve, but they are lacking the confidence to go for it? They think that it's impossible to achieve, or someone who already dared to go for it but feels stuck and trapped in how to get there. What would be your best advice for those people?
The main thing is just get out there. It's okay to be a little bit scared. Reach out, try and find an advisor if you can. If you've got some, senior people that you've worked with before, people that really like you a lot, go out and reach out to them for advice. It's really helpful to have a senior person just help you think through some of the stuff. And I do that for other entrepreneurs just for free. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I want to help the younger generation. And for me, it's fun. A lot of times I'll get really great ideas coming out of it. And I've got no obligation. So I think just the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and do it while you're young. Because now I'm close to 50, but I can tell you when I was in my 20s, starting my first company, and in my 30s, I felt like my early 30s was really my prime as an entrepreneur because I knew enough to be dangerous, but I didn't know too much to be afraid, and I had a lot of energy, and I didn't have a lot of distractions. And so that was like, for me, it was like the highlight of my career was my late 20s through early 30s. And so now it's like, it's nice, but it's like, I could tell with the younger guys I was working with, they could easily work 16, 20-hour days. But for me, about half of that, and I'm like, I'm wiped out. So get started early, surround yourself
Okay.
with some great people and just go for it.
Yeah, don't go alone. Don't stay alone. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we
Don't
get the
don't worry
message.
about it. Yeah. At the end, it's all gonna work out. You just gotta believe. You gotta believe it's gonna work out. If you believe it's gonna work out, look for signals, look for things that are gonna give you confidence in the process. But if you believe and you stick with it and you just keep sticking with it, as much as someone tells you it's not gonna be good or this person doesn't think it's gonna work out, well, that's great. That's their opinion. But generally, most of those naysayers are wrong. So just stick with it, and just keep focusing more and more as you build up the business until you have something that's really, really great.
Okay, thank you. So if you're watching that right now and you're in the process of starting up or you already started up and um, you want some advice from Dave, you know that you can reach out to him and there is an opportunity for you there. And if you're logging into coaching and you want to be leaded, you can reach out to me as well. There are always ways to reach out to people according to what you want to do. They are like coaches, consultant,
Yeah.
mentors, guide.
And I
Um,
use a coach as well. Like for me, I've never done that before, but I've seen all these nomads, everyone's coaching. So I hired a life coach a year ago, and I would say that was a huge thing for me, just once a month for an hour, massive. So I would encourage people to, yeah, look to advisors, look to coaches. It's really going to help you by eliminate a lot of the stress, keep you focused. You know, you don't have to
yeah.
burden your partner or your wife with all this stuff.
hmm Yeah, it's good to have like a third part.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
really helpful. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate your willingness to share your story and to give advices to people who are starting up. Really, the key what I get from you is like we have to take action because we don't know what is going to happen anyway. So just take action and build um, one step at a time. Keep focusing on your vision. Keep having faith in yourself, in the fact that it's going to work out. And if it's not working out, you just have to pivot and make some shift to make it happen. So thank you very
My wife
much.
says it's like in pool. There's always a shot. You know what I mean? So the
Yeah.
same thing in entrepreneurship. You might get backed into a wall, but there's always an angle. So you gotta like,
Yeah.
yeah, just believe that you can navigate this, and don't let anyone else get you down. Just remain confident, and you have to feel confident. You're gonna figure it out. You have to let people go. You have to let people go. Whatever it is you need to do. The main focus is just on the survival and success of the company. And if you do it in a way where you're giving to the company, you're helping the employees, you're just making as much as you possibly can, remain positive. That's super important, and make the tough decisions. You'll be successful.
Great. Thank you very much, Dave.
All right, sure
And
thing.
I look forward to hearing back from you again.
All right, cool. Thanks, Gavin. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.